I think players, young lads now, we've seem to get a lot of players still going over to England and in academies, and that route is getting harder and harder. You know, English teams now, you know, in the Premiership, they're not giving the young players in the academy really, unless they're super special. There's so many options to sign players from all over the world. There's so much money. It is you know, I suppose when I was in the Premier League, say with Reading, you know, when you look around your squad, it was still mainly made up of a bunch of English, Irish, Scottish, a few Icelandic, you know, whereas even in that 10 years, that's changed massively to any team, Championship or Premier League. You're competing against the world, whereas 10 years ago, we weren't quite still competing against the world as much. We were just competing a bit more around the British Isles. It's just more difficult, and players need to realise that. Parents of young lads need to realise that. Going over to an academy in England at a young age is harder and harder and harder every year. Whether Brexit will change that and the rules and immigration rules and all that, I don't know whether it'll make it more harder or make it easier or what. But I just think players need to, if from my point of view, stay at home and learn their trade. The League of Ireland is perfectly well capable of bringing players through it, as it has shown. You went through a list there. Our best current Irish player, our most experienced player, Seamus Coleman, came through at Sligo. There's a setup, there's coaches, there's the facilities. They're not Man City's facilities, they're not Man United's facilities, but they're perfectly good to make a player a professional footballer. And if you can't get through a League of Ireland system and become a man and play at a professional level in the League of Ireland, and it is a professional level, and you learn all the tricks and the trades, and you learn to grow, and you learn to do a press all at a smaller scale, rather than doing it, I have this argument all the time, rather than doing it in a youth system in England and not getting exposed to any of the pressures of being a professional, and then not being ready when you do get a chance. So I just think it more and more emphasises the reason why you should stay in Ireland, and you should come through that way, and it'll make you a better player in the long run. And if you're not good enough to come through in Ireland, well, then you weren't good enough to come through in England anyway. So I would just, you know, if any parents or any young lads watching are doing that, and the history in Irish squad in the last 10 or 15 years, the bulk of the players have gone that route and are successful and have a long career and end up having good careers in England. It's less and less happening where you have a Damien Duff or a Robbie Keane, and it will, one in a million will happen where they go across and they're that good that they will break through. But you know, if you want to build the building blocks, get a good career, mature, and learn all the sides of being professional, you're so much better doing it at home in your own country, where you have a chance to come through and make yourself a star, and then go straight into professional setup in England and start higher up, rather than fighting through a system which is like a field of, I've had this thing, it's like a field of cattle. Every year hundreds of cattle, and one or two are picked out and the rest are sent to slaughter. That is what a youth system is like in England, and it's very, very, very difficult for young players mentally and physically to be able to do that. It's not a nice environment. As much as they say and sell it, and they get educated and all that, it's not normal, it's not natural. So we must be the only country in the world who does what we do, sending all these players to a different country at a young age. No one else does it. And people criticize League of Ireland clubs and facilities and this, that, and the other. Well, you don't need a world-class gym. You don't need a world-class pitch. All the coaches now have pro licenses, have to have licenses, have to be vetted. All the clubs have to have a certain amount of facilities. You don't need 5-star facilities. You just need facilities and the right setup. And I think the only way to go long term is to do it that way with Ireland. But that's not going to happen overnight. And even if it starts now, it's going to take a long time to filter through. And it is starting now. I think it is happening more and more, but it's not going to give us Premier League players next season or the season after. If we do something, we decide to do it in Ireland, everyone seems to want an instant result next week and go, well, we don't have the players next year. It takes a whole generation. It takes 10 years of a young player, 10, 12 years of age, coming through a system to making an international side, or becoming a professional footballer. So whatever happens is going to take time, and we're not going to see the benefits of it in the next European Championships or the World Cup qualifying campaign or whatever it might be, unfortunately.